Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Got to take my glasses off because I can't see this close. This is gonna be episode, I should have looked it up, at about 131 or something like that. And trying something a bit different. I'm gonna record this as a video as well as normal audio podcast. If you're a follower of my YouTube channel, you'll notice I've been putting out a lot more content in the last few weeks. In fact, what I've tried to do since the end of August is to put out a podcast mini short every day, which I've just about succeeded. And it was a bit of an experiment to see whether I could do it, whether I thought it was worthwhile, and whether or not it actually got the messages across that I want. And I'm not sure if it's working, to be completely honest. It's quite a lot of work to do. And sometimes I can get a stream of them going. I get a few ideas going, and other times not so much. And it's made me sort of wonder and think, is this the best route for me and what I want to get across with Off the Arrow Shelf? I set this site up, the podcast, the YouTubes, everything, to basically share my thoughts, my experiences where archery was concerned. Yes, I'm a coach. Yes, I'm an archer, but also I like being outdoors. I like doing things. And I knew there was an awful lot of really good content out there, and there was also a lot of content that wasn't as good. I won't say bad because that's wrong. It's just not as good. And by putting out lots of content, by putting out lots of shorts, it's made me think, well, actually, am I diluting what I'm saying by putting out lots of material? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still be putting materials out, but it might not be on a daily basis. I'll spend a bit more time thinking about it. There might be points when there'll be lots of materials coming out, but other times there'll be longer videos, longer breakdowns of equipment. And I feel happier in doing that because what I want to do is I want to share I'm doing, what my experiences are to help other archers. I'm not here for self-gratification. I'm not here to get 1,000 followers, 1,000,000 followers, whatever. I know I'm never going to be able to generate funds through doing YouTube or Instagram. I'm not going to be an influencer. What I am hoping, and I do hope this, is I can make a difference, that I can help. That some of the experiences I've had means that other people can learn from it and I can offer some support and help. I was really lucky when I first started out in archery. I have some great coaches and a really supportive club, and I've still got a fantastic club. And I have an amazing, amazing wife who is incredibly supportive. But I want to make sure that that message is clear. And it's going to sound a bit strange because, as I said, I've been putting lots of content out. But what I'm going to say today is it's okay to be quiet, to maybe not have an answer, to say, I'll have to check something. And that's something I've realized with doing all this material and trying to put stuff out all the time. I don't have all the answers. I wouldn't even think of saying that I have all the answers. I'm still learning. I'm 50 odd years old and I'm still learning things every day. And that's the important part with life. It's everything. But especially where archery is concerned, the more I look into some things, the more I realize, yes, I do know that. But other times I don't. And there's a great pressure right now. And I think social media and just the speed of life is doing this, whereby you've got to have an answer all the time. You've got to be able to say, oh, this is my opinion, or oh, this is right and this is wrong, or oh, yes, I've read that, and immediately respond. And what I'm realizing is actually, no, you don't. You can be quiet, you can step back, you can turn around. And I've done it recently when I've been doing some coaching and somebody's asked me a question like, oh, so what ages do you shoot from? blue peg or yellow peg. And I've suddenly gone, oh, I think it's 10, 12. Um, but I'll need to check that. Just let me check it because I'd rather make sure I'm getting the facts right than turning around and saying something that is inaccurate or potentially problematic, even hazardous. A good example of that is something I put out on YouTube recently where I said, well, a good use for cheap nail varnish remover. And uh, that is to basically clean the arrow shafts. And I've been cleaning some of the, in fact, I've got some here. Here's one I've got to do. So it can seal the muck and the glue on there. And what I found is cheap nail varnish remover has got acetone in, and it's a good way of basically getting all the muck off the aluminium arrows. But like somebody said, you got to be careful when you're using it because that can affect carbon arrows. And it's like, yeah, that's right. It's very accurate. Should have probably put it into the message, so I've dropped it into the notes. But that's what I'm saying is that I'm trying my best to create materials and get stuff out there, but I don't necessarily know everything. Some people say, oh, yeah, but you're an expert, you're a really good coach. Yes, but I'm still learning. I'm still out there reading materials. I'm still trying to apply the materials. And this is something that you've got to think about as well. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of techniques of overcoming target panic, overcoming um, inefficiencies in your shooting. And people say, oh, if there's this technique and that technique, it's completely rubbish. Every technique out there is completely rubbish unless you'd spend the time to actually read it, apply it, test it, and try it out yourself. There are no quick fixes. And with the way the internet, everything's going right now, there's the drive to have really short, quick material out there, quick answers to questions, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 3-minute recordings. Yeah, they're great. They can be fantastic. But what I want to do is create more materials that goes a bit deeper and helps a bit more. I might still like do like a 30-second, oh, I'm going to be doing this shortly. Come have a look at my longer YouTube or my longer podcast. But what I'm going to do is make sure that I'm getting that message across out there. And if I don't know something, I'll tell you. If I've had to go away and read it, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about my experiences with it. I'm testing out a couple of different non-leather shooting gloves right now, and that's going to be coming out soon. I've got a review of an SRT ball target that's going to come out soon, but I'm not going to do them as like 30 seconds, 60 seconds ones because I want you to get that understanding of how important it is and how much effort that's gone in and more details around it. So what am I saying? Yes, I'm going to continue with the YouTube and thank you everybody who's been supportive and been sending messages in, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. I am going to try and start using the community more on the YouTube channel. I'm still going to be putting out podcasts. I'm still going to be putting out written materials. But I want to make sure that what I'm saying is worthwhile and want to add value to your time and your experiences. So, yes, there'll be stuff coming out, but probably I'm rambling a bit. Sorry about this. I wanted this to be a very authentic discussion of what I'm thinking. And as I said, I wanted to partly increase the profile of the site, of the YouTube and of the Arrow Shelf, but I also still want to have a good message going out there. I don't want to dilute it, sorry. So I want to focus on getting that quality to the work level that I'm happy with. And it's going to make me feel better, and I hope it's going to add more value to what you do and what you're learning and taking from these channels. You'll see that we've been really active on other things as well. I've been down the wood with Steve And he and I spent several hours last weekend walking around the course and the lower loop, mapping everything out. Well, not quite everything. We've got to fit in a loop of 18 targets, and our objective is to find around about 20, 21 targets, or rather 21 shots. And then what we'll do is we'll see how all that maps together into a full course, and we'll drop the ones that we think are maybe a little bit too close or a bit too samey or not quite of the same quality as the rest. So that's what we were doing last weekend. We walked miles. We used all the rangefinders. We were traipsing through so much undergrowth. It was absolutely crazy. But in the hope that we'll get some really nice shots. We've got 17 shots, I think it is, that we're happy with. Where our goal is to get about 21. And then there'll be a group of us that go around all different shooting styles, shooting classes. So there'll be guys shooting hunting tackle, flat bow, bare bow, compound, crossbow, a lot, left-handers, right-handers, different people of height, different poundage your bows, and we'll go around as a group and we'll say, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And as that group, we'll set it and we'll decide on it, and then we'll start the process of writing it all up, handing it into the landowners, and say, are you happy with this? Can we get started and move everything around? And over the winter months, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be shifting all of the target bosses, and I think there's going to be a few that we are going to be able to just move a few feet, and there's going to be a few that we're going to have to completely uproot. And actually, there's probably more that we're going to have to uproot and move entirely, but it'll give us a chance to do some maintenance on the wood and maintenance on the targets and target bosses. And that's what happens a lot of the time in the winter months. A lot of clubs will there'll be less shooting, but a lot more maintenance. What else has been going on? I've been doing a lot of coaching. And one thing I've learned with coaching, and it goes back to what I said earlier, is that sometimes you won't have all the answers. Sometimes you will need to go away and think, okay, this isn't working quite right. Do I need to reframe how I'm explaining something? And I think that's really important to remember as well. If you're ever involved with coaching or teaching or anything like that, you might know the steps from A, B, C, D. But some people will jump the process. They'll want to um, go straight to the end and become really, really good really fast. And other people want to go through all the steps. And one thing I was talking about with some of the students is that each person will develop in different ways. Some will pick up the skills really quickly. Some will struggle. Some will pick up distance judgment really well. So I'm coaching a lady at present who's she shoots rifles and she shoots shotguns and skeets and clay pigeons. Her distance judgment is really, really good. The thing that she's working on now is getting that consistent anchor because her distance judgment, she'll shoot and she'll get a beautiful line towards the target, or she might go slightly off. But the point being is, she's got the ability to judge the distance, and it's just kind of like what her bow's doing in that time. Um, she's developing in a lot of different ways than the other students who are um, drawing. They draw dynamics slightly different. In fact, they're not as physically active people, so they find the draw weight of the bow, even though it's a really light poundage bow, being more of a challenge, and it's more fatiguing. Whilst the other person I've just mentioned, they go shotgun shooting, they go rifle shooting, so they're used to having that weight and the explosion. But likewise, each of those you're coaching the same skills, but you're having to approach it in different ways. And there are times when I've got to sort of sit back and think, okay, How am I going to approach this? What am I going to do this way? And that's the appeal from my point of view of coaching. It's learning more things, because the more times you can explain something and explain it in slightly different ways, the more you get to know it. And that's why I don't mind turning around and saying, look, I need to take a break. I need to go away and read that. Or I'll just check exactly what the rules are on, for example, what age groups are on which pegs, because I don't remember it off the top of my head. And some people will say, well, you're a coach, you should know that just like that. And I go, well, yeah, maybe. But I don't mind turning around and saying, well, I'll check that. Because one, I'm making sure that I'm giving them the right answer. But two, they're realizing that I'm willing and I've got the confidence in myself to turn around and say, you know what? I'm going to check that. I'm going to make sure I am right before I tell you. Because I believe it's this, but I'm going to check it. And that kind of hopefully gives them the idea that it's okay that not to have all the answers, that sometimes you do have to go away and you have to look at it. And I've had people come to me and say, oh, I've seen this great YouTube video that tells me how to draw my bow or what I should be doing. And then we'll unpick that and we'll go through it and we'll say, okay, and we'll identify what is right, what's the best way of doing it, what works for that individual, what doesn't work for that individual. So what am I saying? It's okay not to have all the answers. And it's so important to remember that when you do find an answer, when you do find a technique, when you do find something that you think works really well or is going to help you out, let's use the phrase target panic, you spend the time, you as an individual, just like me as a coach, spend the time to go away and do the reading and do the graft. The thing with YouTube, TikTok, everything like that, there's fast answers up there. And yes, they can be the right answers, but sometimes the journey to the right answer is as important as knowing the right answer. That sounds very philosophical, doesn't it? It's a bit like the old comment. It's like, yes, the journey is part of the answer, and that's the truth. How you get to that answer. Yes, you can skip straight to the answer and know how to do it, but learning how you get there means that if something goes wrong or if something's not quite right, you're more likely to be able to identify it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say in this video today on this podcast, is that I've been putting a lot of material out there, but I wasn't as happy with those shorts and spending a bit more time discussing it. Now, whether that means I don't get the thousands of followers, whether it means I don't get the really big numbers of hits and views and stuff like that, okay, I'm happy with that now. I've decided that, because what I want to make sure is what I'm putting out there is worthwhile, is of value to you. And that's the important thing. If it's not of value, and if it's just like a 30-second TikTok that you've watched and go, right, okay, I've forgotten that now. And I can't remember or even tell you how many various YouTubes and Facebooks and Instagram and various other shorts that I keep seeing. And you'll just do that kind of death stroll of just flicking through them. I don't want to do that. What I want is I want to be able to help you guys improve. And it does mean that some of the stuff I'm going to be doing will be slightly off in the directions. Like one of the guys, Matt, said to me, your site is brilliant because it's called Off the Arrow Shelf. So it means that you can do stuff about archery, but you can go off the arrow shelf and go and do something else. And I'm planning on doing that. I've got some notes on materials and topics I'm going to be covering. So, like um, budget or low cost walking trousers and hiking trousers options. You might have seen I put up about a flint and steel striker that I'm going to be testing out for firelighting. All these things that aren't directly associated with archery, but are more outdoorsy. Yeah. And partly because I really enjoy talking about archery, but I do other things as well, and I'd like to share those experiences with you. And if you're not interested in it, fine, skip over that video. Ignore that podcast. That's your choice. I don't mind. It's about me giving you the options and trying to diversify and trying to offer some help, advice, guidance, some clues as to how you can improve and how you can keep developing. Anyway, as I said, I wanted to get this message out so you can get an idea as to why I've been doing for it's about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, these shorts and lots of materials out there. It was a bit of an experiment, partly to see if I could actually do that, and also partly to kind of see whether it gets some traction. What it has done is given me lots of ideas of quick tips that I can actually give, or quick wins that you can learn. So I was showing a new archer how to check their bow for damage, their limbs for damage. And it dawned on me, well, actually, I've got a couple of damaged limbs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video on how you can check your limbs to see if they're damaged and what to do with them. And you may have seen that I put something about bowstrings, and I've done a couple of shorts on asking the question, how many times do you check your bowstring for wear and tear damage? And that came about because I'm in the process of going through all our coaching equipment, because we've got a number of archers that have just coming up to the end of the coaching program. And what we've had the go ahead to do from the committee is to set some bows up so that once they do pass, they can loan some of the club's equipment and use some of those bows rather than them immediately going out and buying a bow. It gives them the opportunity to try some different draw weights, some different designs. But by going through this equipment, I've been able to go, oh, well, I've got a string here that's the serving looks fine, but there's a fraying at the loop where it goes onto the bow, onto the top limb. There was another one which I picked up, and the serving, everything looked absolutely fantastic. It'd been really well waxed, and then I just slightly twisted the string, and I suddenly spotted a strand sticking out. And then on closer inspection, I spotted actually two or three of the actual strands in this continuous loop string had actually snapped. It was really hard to spot because the string had been waxed. All the fibers were sort of sitting lovely and flat. And it's only because I happened to just twist it a little bit more that one popped up that I spotted it. And that's a really easy thing to miss. So anyway, what I'm saying is I'm going to try and keep putting material out there, but it won't probably be as often as on a daily aspect. I'll try and put out one long form video a week at least. I'm going to try and keep going with the podcasts, but I might be doing a series of tips. I am looking at unpicking the mysteries of different shooting styles in the National Field Archery Society, because one thing I have had from a number of students is they get very confused with the different the different societies if they shoot in other societies like EFAA or under Archery GB, and what classifies as a bare bow in that organisation compared to ours. Ours being National Field Archery Society. But also there's confusion between some of the styles because they are very similar. So you've got hunting tackle, for example, traditional bow hunter, and bare bow. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a little video. Matt's offered to help out with this, and almost doing it like a question and answer. This is the bow. Can I use it in X class? Or we're doing some work on like traditional bow hunter and bear bow. I'll probably do it on flat bow and hunting tackle as well, because they're the ones that tend to get people confused, because there's real small differences, like in hunting tackle. Hunting tackle under National Field Archery Society is any bow that's not a compound or a crossbow. But it's not just about the equipment, it's how your fingers sit on the string. So in hunting tackle, you've got to shoot split finger. So the arrow is between your first and second finger. Whilst under bear bow, there's no restriction. Hunting tackle, it's got to be wooden arrows and feather fletchings. Bear bow, there's no restrictions. But if you then look at traditional bow hunter, for example, traditional bow hunter, you can't have a plunger button or a rest on it. You've got to shoot off the shelf, and it's got to be non-natural materials for the shaft. So it's got to be carbon or aluminium, but with feather fletchings. And that, I've mentioned 3 shooting styles, and new archers sort of go, well, I'm really confused now. So am I shooting bear bow or am I shooting hunting tackle? And I want to try and ease their confusion by probably doing some materials on that. So there's lots of different plans. There's lots of different ideas. There's lots of stuff that's going on with regards to the podcast and what I want to be putting out there. I do want to say thank you, though. And I do really, really mean that, because I've had Instagram messages, I've had comments on the YouTubes, Facebook messages, all of that saying thanks. And, oh, I didn't know this. Or, yeah, that's a good bit of advice. That's what I'm doing it for. It's not for me to be, yay, look at me, I'm wonderful, I'm this social media tycoon or whatever. No. Somebody asked me, well, how many followers have you got? And I said, well, not too sure. How can you be a YouTuber if you don't know how many followers you've got or how many subscribers? And I went, well, that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it to try and help. I'm in it to try and pass on what my experiences are, the goods and the bads, as in where I've had successes, where I've had failures, and just to try and help. So that's it. I hope you found this of use. It's a bit weird just talking flat to a camera. So give me a second, I'll have a drink of water. It's a bit weird just sort of talking like this. If I'm doing a podcast, it's a lot easier because I'm just recording the audio. This time I'm actually doing a video as well. I don't know how great the quality is going to be, but we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, thanks very much for your time. Thanks for listening. I hope you found it of use. Most of it all will go away, and enjoy your archery. Take care, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find me on offthearrowshelf.com or on Instagram, offthearrowshelf again. You can even email me on offthearrowshelf@yahoo.co.uk. But most of all, remember to stay safe and enjoy your archery.